Anyone But You is a romantic comedy largely set in the surroundings of Sydney, Australia, starring Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney. And if you're an Australian like I am and live in Sydney like I do, you will spend a lot of time saying, that street doesn't lead to that place, and we don't all sound like that. Yo, Andrew here. Anyone But You is directed by Will Gluck, who also directed movies like Easy A, Friends with Benefit, About Last Night, and the Peter Rabbit franchise. So he's no stranger to the ha-has and also the that was weird. And Glen Powell you may have recently seen on Top Gun Maverick and Set It Up on Netflix. And the co-star Sydney Sweeney you may know from Euphoria and the upcoming Marvel movie Madame Web, which will be released next year. So it's an all-star cast of watchable people. Really hot, watchable people at that. Glen Powell barely wears a shirt in this whole thing and he looks fantastic. And I get it. If I had abs like that, I wouldn't wear a shirt either. And on the other hand, we've got Sydney Sweeney. Oh, God bless those beautiful Sweeneys. God damn. Yeah. Let's just move on. Anyone But You is the kind of movie that requires the audience to know that it's a romantic comedy. Let me say that again. This movie is a romantic comedy. So do not come into this movie with any logic whatsoever. Come in with an anticipation of having a bit of a haha and also looking at hot people traverse through simple things and misunderstand each other every step of the way. This is a warning. Because at first I went in just going, what the hell? Like, no, doesn't even make. And then I just had to reel it in and realize, oh yeah, this is a romantic comedy. Things are supposed to feel fantastic, and this movie delivers on that. And with that said, here are 7 reasons to watch this film and 5 reasons not to watch this film in my pros and cons list later on in this video. But first, let's start with plot. After an amazing first date, B and Ben's fiery attraction turns ice cold, as B snuck out in the early hours of the morning without saying goodbye to Ben, until they find themselves unexpectedly reunited at a destination wedding in Australia. So they do what any 2 mature adults would do, pretend to be a couple, because their dislikes for each other was considered a problem that could ruin the wedding. So everyone wanted them to hook up before the wedding starts so as to promote unity on the wedding day. Okay, so straight off the bat, I'm gonna admit that right here, that premise is a dumbass premise, and those are only problems that actually happen to hot people. This is legitimately a hot people issue. And with that said, let's move over to cons. Con number 1. Every situation in this movie is only applicable if you look as good as Glen Powell or Sydney Sweeney. They are super unrealistic to us normal, ugly looking folks. You will be arrested immediately and put in some kind of list, or at least watched closely, if you did any of the things the character did, or the characters did. Con number 2. The entire conflict of this movie is super ridiculous, because when a woman sneaks out of your house after a possible one-night stand, that's the ideal scenario for any man. It's even more so if you're an attractive man, because that girl needs to get the hell away from your house before your wife turns up. Or girlfriend. Con number 3. This movie feels like all the side characters are forced inclusivity, because most people these days for some reason can't watch anything unless everybody is in it or represented in it. It's kind of weird, but it's okay. Because this movie covers almost everyone. So we have a lesbian wedding with a biracial black woman getting married to an Australian woman, a super white dude who looks like he works for Goldman & Sachs, and his best friend is a rapper, like a black dude rapper who kind of looks like he is being paid to really bring up the diversity in this movie, because his character, in my very humble black opinion, doesn't look convincing enough. And that leads me to con number 4. I'm sick of these movies casting black characters as comic reliefs. I refuse to be white people's black funny friend, which kind of sucks because I'm fucking hilarious. Con number 5. All the Aussie characters in this film are told to dial their Australian-ness to 11. Hey Americans, no Aussies actually talk like that. They do that just to be fun around you Americans, because you Americans love it. That's why they do it. Okay, let's move on to pros now. Pro number 1. Now this is contradicting to what I said in the cons, but every situation in this movie is super unrealistic, and that's perfect because this is a romantic comedy, and romantic comedies, this is what they're all about. And at first I said I hated this movie, but then I was totally suckered in and I just started enjoying the vibe, so I think you will too. Pro number 2, Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney, they've got this great on-screen chemistry and both of them are super hot people, so it was easy to watch for 1 hour and 43 minutes, which is the runtime of this entire movie. Pro number 3, depending on how progressive you are, they got you covered. Pro number 4, I live here in Sydney. I mean, it's not the Sydney I'd rather be in, but it's a Sydney that consented to me being in it. I probably went too far. Sydney, Australia is gorgeous and it's great to see all the nice spots being represented in this film, especially in a romantic way. It made me feel like, you know what? I should move to Sydney, Australia, which is weird because it's just out this door right here. I mean, this is also Sydney, but you know what I mean. Pro number 5, if you are a rom-com lover, you will definitely get a kick out of this film because it has a very strong rewatchability for years to come. Pro number 6, there is a fair amount of boobs and nudity, so don't watch this film with your kids in the room or your parents in the room because it will get awkward. But at the same time, it's super mild, not like the R rating that it's given. The film is actually a lot milder than the R that it's rated, so it's raunchy. There are raunchy things in it, but you've seen raunchier things on Instagram. Pro number 7. This is a fun movie that doesn't take itself super seriously and is reminiscent of the early 2000s rom-coms where life is good, no real world implications are mentioned or addressed to any uncomfortable degree. It's an easy watch. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and rate this movie a critic's 4 out of 10 because it's frankly quite silly. But I'm also going to rate this movie a fun 7 out of 10 if you really love rom-coms. And I'm reluctantly a rom-com lover because this movie was a lot of fun and plus there was a lot of boobs. I don't know what that says about me. So the question is, should you watch this movie? And the answer is yes. I definitely recommend this movie as it's a nice easy watch with your significant other or by yourself. It's got all those romantic comedy recipes in it and you should absolutely shamelessly enjoy this film. And that's my 2 cents. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section and also like and subscribe if this video brought you any value whatsoever. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.